Hello everyone. So today what we're going to do is set up a reverse proxy, an Nginx server, in order for us to load balance our two Docker containers that are running Ollama server for us. And the reason why we are trying to do this is because we want to make sure that we have some kind of intermediary interceptor in between that intercepts the client requests and then forwards it to the backend servers. And this helps in distributing the load, managing the traffic, and also if you want to implement some kind of HTTP cache, it can come in over there, and it is really secure because we can implement our SSL and TLS termination if we want to, and we can do some rate limiting and also some kind of access control. So the way this video is structured is where I'll first show you how normally we would set up Ollama with Open WebUI or some kind of interface for your Ollama server. So this is how normally people would set it up. We will have Open WebUI connected to one Ollama instance. And I'll set this up first, and then I'll show you how you can transform this kind of structure into this kind of structure where you have multiple Ollama servers in the backend, and there is a reverse proxy or Nginx server in the front, and your OpenWebUI requests are not going directly to Ollama, but they are intercepted by Nginx, and then they are being trafficked properly to whichever Ollama server is available at that point of time. Okay, so in order for us to do that, I want to show you my AI server that I'm using right now, which is literally called AI. So it is resolving to AI. So my Ubuntu server is in the basement, and I'm accessing it via this machine over here, the Windows machine over here, and I have SSH into it already. And if I show you what's currently running, so Docker PS, you will see there is no Docker container running right now. So in my previous videos, I have shown you how to set up a simple Ollama server and a simple Open Web UI server, right? So I can just recall those commands. And if you would like to see how all that is set up, then you can refer to my previous videos. I'm just gonna rerun this command over here, and I'll just talk about it, what this is. So in this command, it says that we want to run our Ollama server. We want to use all GPUs over here, right? So Nvidia Container Toolkit has already been installed. Please follow Ollama's Docker installation guide. And that is how you can use all GPUs over here. So even though I have 4 GPUs, 0, 1, 2, 3, all of these GPUs are being used for this Docker container. And I'm doing a volume mapping to my Ollama, and the internal volume is root.ollama. So this is inside Docker, and Ollama is outside Docker, right? So this is the volume mapping that's being done so that the persistence can be done for this Docker container. And what I'm saying is that the port 11434 is being exposed to outside. So this is the outside port, and 1143 port, it is the inside port of Docker. Restart always just says that every time when your system restarts, every time when the Docker engine restarts, then spin up this particular container, and the name of this container is Ollama, and the image is Ollama/Ollama, right? So let's hit enter, and it creates this particular container for us. So now let's do Docker PS, and you will see that you have your Ollama running on this particular host and port. So if you want to check whether your Docker Ollama server is running, let's send a command over here. So what we'll do is I have a curl command ready with me, which I'm gonna use over here. So let's send a curl command to this machine, and let's wait for the response back. So I'm gonna send this curl command. If you see, I'm accessing 11434 port of this AI server and chat completions endpoint, and I'm sending a request to it for Llama 3.1 model, which I have already downloaded. And let me send the request, and you will see that it allocated one of these servers, and I got the response back. So if I run this again, you will see this is the server, because if you saw it, this is the GPU. It spiked up for a moment and it gave the response back. If I keep on sending it multiple times, you can probably catch it. All right. So this is good. Our Ollama server is working, right? So if we do a Docker PS again, you see that our Ollama server is up and working, and we can do request response against it on port 11434. So this part of setup is done. Now let's move on to Open WebUI part of the setup. So because I have already run this command, I can probably recall it. Open web UI, and let's see. Yep, so this is the command, and if you're looking for the command, you can just do open web UI Docker GitHub, something like this, and then the GitHub repo comes up, and over here you can scroll down, and the command that I have for running is right here. So you see how it says add host Docker internal and all that, and it already has restart always in it. And this is the command. It's the same command that I have over here, right? So I'm gonna close that out, and let's come back over here. So we have already installed Ollama. Let's install Open Web UI, and I'm gonna hit enter over here. And what this says is that the internal Docker port of 8080 is going to be exposed at external port of 3000, right? So we have done that now, and now we should be able to access the host over here. So if I do AI colon 3000, or before we do that, let's do a Docker PS, just make sure it is running. And we see that there are two containers running now. One container is Ollama that we already had in past, and the second one is the Open Web UI container that is running now. Okay, so, and it is being exposed on port 3000. So we're going to access port 3000 and hit enter, and it is running over here. So I already have created an account over here in my previous, so it is doing the volume mapping, retrieving the data, so it is fine, but you guys may have to just create a new account and then access it, right? And my Ollama server, because I have already downloaded some models, I already have some models, or it should have had some models listed over here, but it is not. So apparently it is not connected to my Docker container. So let's see. So let's go over here. Let's go to connections, and let's see. Oh, so this configuration is incorrect. So let's fix this. It is right now local host colon or maybe even AI colon 11434 is where we were accessing it, right? Let's verify the connection and let's save it, and let's go back to our chat, and let's look at the go away drop down, and all the models are showing up now, right? So our Docker for Ollama is on 11434, which is what we configured over here, right? So admin panel and settings, connections, and you can see that Ollama API endpoint is 11434 at AI. So now it's able to talk to Ollama. Okay, so we have been able to do this thing, a simple, like a simple request response by having one Docker container running in Ollama, one Open Web UI running in one Docker container for Open Web UI, and this one will access this other Docker container using the ports that are exposed over here. But if we want to send multiple requests, right? So let's say if you tell me a fun fact over here, and if you send something again, you have to wait for this. So you have to wait for this request to finish before you can send a second request, because it's the same Ollama server that is responding to multiple requests that you have. So let's see if we add another, let me see if it'll let you add. No, it won't. So let's see if we add a smaller model is what I'm looking at. So maybe a Gemma 2 27B and Llama 3 latest, and let's do write a Python code for snake game. Right, so the first request is going and the second request will go soon once the model is loaded. And once the model is done loading, we can see that the second request will also go through. So just waiting for the second model. Yep, so this is now the model that's loaded on this GPU, and 2 parallel requests were sent over here for this to work. All right, and this works, and this is fine. It is working. I don't think it's put those requests sequentially. It's just that because the other model wasn't loaded, that is why it took some time for this second request to come in. But if I just ask it some question right after this finishes, I'm pretty sure you can see both GPUs where each model is loaded, they both will spike at the same time. So we'll do that over here now. What is the tallest building in US? And let's see, and you see both of them are responding at the same time over here, right? Gemma, short answer. Llama 3.1, pretty big answer. Okay, so this is working. This kind of setup is working for us. However, we want to move or evolve to a setup like this, where our Open WebUI doesn't talk to one Ollama server. It talks to a proxy server in between, which proxies the requests and sends it to 2 different servers. How do we do that? So step 1 in getting a system like that set up is by having 2 different Docker containers, right? So we first need to set up this container and this container. So let's do that first. So in order for us to do it, let me clear the screen. So this is where I'm gonna use GPU 0 and 2 for my Ollama server 1, right? So this particular Ollama server will be accessing GPU 0 and 2. And how do I do that? When I'm going to create this particular Docker container, I will set that, hey, GPUs will use device 0 and 2 instead of GPUs all, right? So that is the difference over here. I'm gonna choose the 2 devices. And the key is I will be using the same volume mapping. So Ollama does the requests and responses in such a way where it does not persist the changes that we are doing, right? So it is a read-only server where it will read the models, and the only volume mapping that we need to do is where we are going to store the models, right? So we'll use the same external volume for both the Ollama servers. So for this Ollama server and also for this Ollama server. However, the thing that's going to be different is the port where we are exposing it to. So Ollama 1 internal port of 11434 is going to be exposed to an external port of 11435, right? So this is how we do it. 11434 internal port will be exposed to 11435. And we are also going to create an Ollama network over here. And this Ollama network is what we'll have for Nginx also. So Nginx will be on the same Ollama network as these 2 servers. And you will see how that plays out in a second. So I'm gonna hit enter over here. And now Ollama 1 is also available. So let's do a Docker PS. And you will see that we have Ollama 1 and Ollama, right? So there is a Ollama 1 and there is Ollama also available. And what we'll do is now let's create a third container, right? So we have Ollama 1. We already have Ollama over here. Let's forget about it. We have Ollama 1 that we have just created, and we want to create this one also now. So to create that one, it's very simple. We'll modify this command and we will change it from device 0 and 2 to device 1 and 3. So this particular Ollama server will access devices 1 and 3. These these two devices, and we are going to use the same volume mapping over here, right? So that we don't download different the same model multiple times for different Docker containers. So all these Docker containers are going to use the same volume mapping, which is key. And then another part is the internal port of 11434 will be mapped to an external port of 11436 over here, which is also very important. So we have a means to access this Ollama directly, and we also have a way to use it or route the traffic via Nginx over here, and we'll see how we do that. So let me hit enter over here, and let's do Docker PS, and you will see now we have Ollama 1, Ollama 2, Open WebUI, and our main Ollama also over here, right? And the ports that are being exposed are 11434 for that one big Ollama server that uses all 4 GPUs. We are using 3000 port for Open WebUI. We are using 11435 port for your Ollama 1 server and 11436 port for Ollama 2 server. Okay, so we have done this part of the configuration. Now the question is, how do we do this, right? I mean, if we want, we can just route configure one of these Ollama servers over here, and it can, access this directly, and that's all right, but that's not what we want to do. What we want to do is to route the traffic using the Nginx server. So in order for us to do that, we will have to create an Nginx configuration file, and we will spin our Nginx server in the Docker container. Okay, so how do we do that? So I've already created a Nginx configuration file in a folder which I'll show you. So you can run this particular command. You can make a directory in your home folder, which is nginx-conf. I've already done this, so I'll just show you a CD of this, so you will see where I am. And then I have created a configuration file over here, and let me show you what this is. So this configuration file is pretty simple. It's a simple config where all I'm saying is that, hey, I want to create an Ollama backend. And what this backend will look like is, because it's on the same network, which I will show you soon, that Nginx will be on the same Ollama network. So what I want to do is I want to take Ollama 1 and its internal port of 11434, right? So this is being referred as Ollama 1 internal port 11434 and Ollama 2 11434. So this is my upstream backend. Right, so whenever I will refer to Ollama backend, it will route the traffic between these two servers internally. Okay, and the port where the Nginx will be accessible is port 80, right? So port 80 is why we do not have to specify AI:80 over here, right? We will just say AI, and that means AI:80. It's port 80 by default. So we'll access our Nginx port on port 80, and then /Ollama is where this location part comes from, right? So when we do AI/Ollama in this Nginx configuration file, we'll go to /Ollama over here, and this is the key. The proxy path is HTTP Ollama backend. Right, so it goes to Ollama backend, which has been defined over here to use these two servers. So very simple and basic Nginx configuration file, and this will route our traffic from Nginx to these two Ollama servers. Now, once you have your configuration file, right, so you see the location of this is home nginx-conf. I just created a directory over here, and inside that I have this particular nginx.conf file. Right, so now that we have this configuration file with us, we can now run Nginx in, you got it, Docker, right? So let's go back to this folder and let's do a Docker PS so you can see what all containers are over here. And I'm gonna run another command now, which is Nginx Docker image, right? So what I'm saying is that, hey, Docker run and map the port 80 from inside Nginx to port 80 from outside, right? So we can access this port 80 from inside from here. And what else we are saying is that you need to restart always. So just start it up on the start. and the volume mapping. So we are saying that, hey, use the external configuration file, which is what we just saw, as nginx configuration file over here, right? So the internal nginx configuration file has been mapped to the external configuration file with this volume mapping. And we are saying put this on the same Ollama network. And this is the key, because we are accessing the Ollama 1 with 11434 and Ollama 2 with 11434. These two ports for internal servers are working because of this, because all three nginx and these two Ollamas, they are on the same network over here, and the name is nginx. Okay, so let's hit enter over here, and it creates, and let's do a docker ps again, and you will see that nginx is also up and running. So how do we validate that all three new things that we have spun up, right? So we need to validate that we can do curl against this. We need to validate that we can do curl against this. And we need to also validate that we can do curl commands against this, right? So whenever we are sending requests, all three are working. So let's do that. That will be our next path. So clear, and this is for accessing 11435, right? So we are going to access AI:11435, so Ollama 1, this server, and we are saying that, hey, just send a hello to this particular server and see what the response is. So once we hit enter, so we know that this particular Ollama 1 is going to be accessing 0 and 2, these two GPUs, right? So most likely it will just load the model over here, and that is what we'll see. Let's hit enter, and it attempts to load the model here. Yep, and we got the response back, right? Now if we change this to 11436, then it will switch to this particular Ollama server. Let's do that next. So we're gonna change it to AI:11436, exact same curl statement over here. And when we hit enter, now it's gonna access GPU 1 and 3 for this Ollama server, and most likely it will load this model in this particular GPU. Let's see. Hit enter, and most likely it's going to load over here, which it did, and we got the response back, right? So I'm gonna hit up 2 times, so we get 11435, and now we'll get a response from this. And I'm gonna hit up again 2 times, and this is 11436, and we will get a response from this server. All right, so all this is working. These two servers are working. How do we check whether our nginx configuration is working? So in order for us to do that, we will send the commands, curl commands, not to these AIs, right? AI:435 and 436, but we will send it at AI/Ollama endpoint, right? So let's do that. So I'm going to do a clear, and I'm going to do right click. And if you see, now I am not specifying that which particular Ollama server I want to access. All I'm saying is that, hey, just access the nginx Ollama's endpoint and have nginx do the smart routing over here. Okay, so let's do that. Hit enter, and you saw that it was so fast that it was hardly visible where it came from. So let's do it again, and you will see, oh, it hit this particular one, and this is where the response came from. If I keep on bombarding it with multiple requests, you will see that it goes back and forth between those two load balanced requests, and it keeps on sending between the two servers back and forth. So this is pretty cool. So our nginx URL is working, right? Now we have done the configuration up until this point. What we have to do is now configure Open WebUI to accept this endpoint and not the old endpoint that we had. So let's go back to our Open WebUI, and the way to do this is, I'm just gonna create a new chat so the interface looks cleaner. Click on your name, go to admin panel, go to settings, go to connections, and instead of AI:11434, just do AI/ Ollama, right? So now, and let's verify the connection. Yep, connection is verified, so it's able to access it. And let's do a save over here. And let's go back to our chat and let's do, let's help me study, that's fine. And let's see, let's keep an eye over here and let's see what happens. So it accessed apparently both the models. That's interesting. Let's send the request again. And it accessed this one. All right, let's send the request again. And it accessed this one. I'll keep on sending these requests multiple times. And it is accessing this GPU. For some reason, the other GPU is also getting access for whatever reason. I can't tell. Oh, probably it is trying to get, oh, so there are two calls going on over here. So one Ollama call is going on for getting the response back, and another one is going to change this particular name over here. I think this is what also Ollama does. So yep, you see how, so this is the second call. That's why two different GPUs are being accessed. This is the Open WebUI thing. I think after we do the first message, it does not do, you know, I'm just going to choose anything. I'm not even paying attention over here. But after the first message, it does not do this call to modify this. So if I do a refresh over here again, it should not modify this, which means there will be only one single call from here on, and easy to locate also. So only one call and one call which was on the top, and it is doing the load balancing and sending the requests based on the load that it knows those two servers are having. Okay, all right. So this is pretty cool. This is exactly what I wanted to show by having load balance servers and by, you know, not having a non-resilient architecture. So this is not resilient, right? I mean, this, if your one single Ollama server fails, you're gone, you're done. And in this kind of architecture, now you have a way to have multiple Ollama servers in the backend, and you can have one Nginx server, a reverse proxy server that is going to do this load balancing and your traffic management and all that for you. This is it. Thank you everyone for watching this video. And if you like this, please comment below and let me know what else you would like to see in terms of configurations and how to do the Ollama traffic monitoring and how to build agents. So my final thought, the reason why I went or delved into this particular pattern over here is because I wanted to build a multi-agent kind of framework, and those agents would just have access to Nginx server over here, right? And Nginx will be based on the load on multiple different Ollama servers that are running in the backend, will determine where to route the requests to. So this can make for a very good use case for multi-agent scenario, where if you have multiple GPUs, just split them out into multiple Ollama servers and have your front end determine, like by front end I mean the Nginx over here that is sitting in the front, determine where to route the request to, and if one server is already overloaded, then the other one will come into picture. All right, thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.